As a fellow talented, blonde-haired troublemaker once rapped, "Guess who's back? Back again." Do you know, this morning I was on a run in the park, and there was a fit young geezer who ran past me, bald as well, looked not unlike one of my former advisors, although fit and young, and he greeted me with a cheery London greeting of "Wanga!" And at first I was like, oh no, it was very rude, you rotter. But then I thought, no, actually, what a wonderful country we live in. What a privilege to live in such a place where the distance between the government and the governed is so small. Sometimes just a matter of a few £1,000,000 in the bank. I mean, imagine that happening in Russia with Putin. We should think ourselves very, very, very lucky, very happy that we live in a country where journalists are not shot for simply criticising politicians. But some politicians do arrange to have journalists beaten up. Although, people are worried about being muzzled, we should be vigilant with freedom of speech, and nothing and no one will stop me from reciting the classic words from Roald Dahl and the Twits. Mr. Twit was a twit. He was born a twit, and now at the age of 60, he was a bigger twit than ever. And can I make it clear that I am in fact 58? This country has the world's best arts and culture, which is why it's very important that we in government keep giving them loads of material to work with. I mean, we live in a country where the Prime Minister can be fined for eating lunch. I still don't really understand what happened there. And people tell me there was a pandemic happening at the time, but where's the evidence that wasn't collected by a Labour spy? Can I just say that when I stepped down, we were only a handful of points behind Labour. 11, which I do consider to be a handful, in the same way that I have a handful of children. With Brexit, people voted for freedom, the freedom to live as they like, without fruit and vegetables. I have to admit it was my fault for trusting the EU not to implement the agreement that we had signed. I mean, talk about wankers. For goodness sake, I've never signed anything I haven't intended to break. I've been married 3 times, for God's sake. Angela Merkel came up to me at a summit and said, if you carry on with this protocol bill, it will be a Shakespearean tragedy. I'll let you decide which one. I mean, obviously I'm Julius Caesar. Et tu, Rishi. And of course we all now think, Matt Hancock, bottom. Look, this government is nothing without Brexit. And by Brexit, I do of course mean me. Now, you may say that threatening and goading the EU didn't work and respectful negotiations did, but no, I say that we just didn't threaten and goad enough. One more round of shouting and they'd have thrown in Gibraltar for free. Now, look, I recognise that some people in this audience may not agree that Brexit was a good idea. Raise your hand if you think it was. I demand a people's vote.